talking about your pocketbook. It might be that for you, but I'm asking you, when it comes to the mission God has given His church and all of us, what are you holding back that you're going, hey, whoa, God, now, what are you holding back that God's asking you to lay down? Number 3, the mission's clear. The cost is high. You say, well, shoot, count me out. Sounds hard. It is hard. You're going to be unappreciated for doing it. Did you hear me? You're going to be unappreciated for trying to help redeem people. Because redemption sounds a whole lot like this. Sir, did you know that the life you're living is a path to destruction? Nobody's going to pat you on the back for that, church. If your pastor, if your lady in a small group with you, your friend, they're followers of Jesus, but you see apathy. You see them going off a path that they don't need to be going. You see them walking away towards some false preaching, some false teaching that's telling them, hey, let's adopt a more loving culture that says, hey, God cares about everybody and everybody's going to heaven. We don't need to be telling people that some people are going to hell. We shouldn't do that. You see a friend doing that, can I tell you something? If you go to them and you say, hey, Miss Sheila, that's dangerous what you're messing with over there. Can I tell you something? Even your friend who loves Jesus may not be glad you did that. You say, well, of course, they're Christians. Of course they'll be glad. They might not. You willing to do it anyway? Do you love them enough to do it anyway? The stakes are eternal. Romans 10:13. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. That's wonderful news. Everybody who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one whom they have not believed in? How can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. As I read that verse, underneath my words, I'm praying something over our church this week. Pray that those words of Romans haunt you a little bit this week, haunt me a little bit this week. How can they believe if they haven't heard, Jay? How can they believe if they haven't heard? How can they hear if nobody tells them? You say, Robby, they'll hear. Somebody will tell them. How do you know? And how do you know they'll hear the truth? Because I don't know about you, but when I turn on my TV, even when I turn on my Christian radio station, when I go into my social media, I hear a whole lot of stuff that's not the Word of God. It sounds real spiritual. But it's not true. See, this is the difference, and this is the problem. We don't get a pass just to point them to somebody else, church. You can't say, I know I'll bring them and let them hear Andrew next week. I know Andrew will preach the Bible. Why would they come with you? Have you invested anything in them? How can they believe if they haven't heard? And how can they hear if nobody tells them? And how is anybody going to tell them if we think it's somebody else's job? 2 Timothy 2, verse 2, and the things you've heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people